We're going to give it 12 seconds.
Okay.
Starts in town.
Going into those discussions.
Okay, we'll get started. We will call to order the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners meeting for Wednesday, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry.
Good. For Wednesday, May 23rd, 2018. If everybody could please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Bonnie.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor,
Here.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Klaus,
Here.
Crawford,
Here.
and Johnson and Gorfulet are excused tonight.
Commissioner Gorfulet might show up at some point. She is stuck in court, and she sends her apologies. So we have approval of the minutes. We have minutes of May 2nd, 2018. That was a regular meeting, and the minutes of May 16th and 17th. Those were our special meetings to interview for county administrator. Anybody have any changes or anything? Okay.
No, I move that we accept the minutes.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Mayer, supported by Commissioner Wheelock. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now is our chance for first public comment. Bonnie, will you read the rules, please?
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4 Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized, and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson. Please be respectful and refrain from personal or political attacks.
Thank you. This time, does anybody have any public comment? Matt?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Cowell, 117 Homestead Court in Peninsula Township, a volunteer with the Friends of Easling Pool. It's no secret tonight when in front of you now that we hit our original campaign goal of $625,000. So I wanted to at least drop in tonight. We haven't addressed you directly about that. Great news. So here it is. And more importantly, I guess at this point, we've decided, since we finished 3 months early, we had slated to continue raising funds through August of this year. Don't have to wait for that now, and actually are going to be conducting the work this July. So a really amazing response, a really great partnership between County Parks and Rec, the Friends of Easling Pool, and the YMCA. Very, very excited to see that work get done this July, and just very, very gratified by the community support and response to Easling Pool and the support of that critical facility here in our community. Through June 30th, we'll continue to raise funds. We've got a goal of another $125,000, kind of working our way out from the main pool mechanics into other things that a 50-year-old public building needs, particularly revamping the locker rooms. That'll be our first focus and our first mission. They could be replumbed. They need new tile. They need new fixtures. All that stuff is aged and in need of attention. So if we can, we decided we had the fundraising infrastructure in place, we had the boots on the ground, and we decided to take the time we had remaining to us prior to the work starting in July to see what we can do and see what kind of dent we can make in those other needs. More than 425 donors so far, so tremendous broad support from the community. We're looking at efficiencies in operations after this new stuff goes in. The new air handling equipment alone should reduce utility usage by the pool by 12%. So that's a nice estimate, came in the other day. So we're looking at just a really happy ending to what started as kind of a tough spot for the pool. We were talking about closing it a couple of years ago, and now it's I think we're putting it on a really good footing for several more decades of service to the community. So thank you very much for your ongoing support, and we look forward to what's to come.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah. So you got the 625, that's complete. Now the next dollars go into Phase 2, the next 125,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What are some of the items in the next campaign, the 125,000?
Mostly having to do with locker rooms.
Okay.
Specifically, the plumbing would be pretty expensive.
Things that you just mentioned? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Tiling, lockers
Wasn't-
themselves.
None of that was included in the first?
No, that
Okay.
625 was very deliberately pared down to critical infrastructure systems, the mechanical systems that make an indoor pool go, like air handling and filtration and all that. So, it was really throwing the pool a lifeline in that regard.
And then the other item on tonight's agenda, the roof, is actually capital improvement money. It doesn't come from the fundraising.
No, that's straight out of the county's capital improvement
Right.
plan, and another needed improvement for that old building. But, that's straight out of county capital improvement monies.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Anybody else for first public comment? Okay, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. I have one thing to remove and one thing to add. Under Commission on Aging, we are going to remove D2, the home chore truck bid. And I've been asked to add under 11 new business, discussion about shooting range?
Yes.
Shooting range at Camp Pugsley.
What, again?
We'll do that in a minute.
Discussion about what?
A shooting range at Camp Pugsley,
Okay.
okay? Does anybody else has any additions, or Nate?
Go ahead.
You want this human resources policy?
No, we're not there yet.
No, we want that off.
Completely
We don't want
off
it
the
pulled
agenda.
from consent, we just want it off.
Off the
Because
agenda.
we
Okay,
need to further
got it,
turnover.
got it. We will also remove B1 from the consent calendar, human resources policy change. Needs some more work?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other changes? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second that.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Mayer. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have an agenda. Consent calendar, Bonnie, please.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. Number 1, Department of Health and Human Services Board minutes of March 20th. Number 2, Grand Traverse Conservation District April 2018 monthly report. Number 3, financial report. B, approvals. Number 1 was removed from the calendar. Number 2, resource recovery hauler license. Number 3, resource recovery material recycling facility designation agreement renewal. Number 4, fiscal year 2018 budget adjustments. Number 5, April 2018 claims approval. Number 6, floodplain enforcement agreements for Long Lake and East Bay. Number 7, 2% grant applications.
Okay. Does anybody have anything they want removed from the consent calendar? Sunny, I assume that's
I'm
B7?
assuming that I'm going to pull B7, please.
Why change now?
Been
Anybody?
complaining about it for 24 years since it started. Why would I stop now?
Exactly. Anybody else? Anybody
Can I-
from the public? want-
B5?
B5, you want the claims approval? Okay. Anybody else? Anybody from the public want anything removed and discussed? Okay. Do we have a motion for what remains?
Madam Chairman, I move to approve the consent calendar with the exception of items B5 and B7.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Klaus. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have no special orders of business, so we'll move on to the items removed from the consent calendar. B5, Tom?
Okay. I'm gonna channel Cheryl for this one, since she's
Okay.
not here.
That's
She might
fine.
ask this question.
Okay,
Macy's total, $46,920.36. So,
Dean?
Well, it's not Macy's, the store.
okay.
That would be my question.
I don't know, but it just jumped out on my sheet. So,
That's a good question.
Okay.
It is.
But we will get an answer for you as to who that vendor is and what those, what's in that claim total.
With somebody else by the name of Macy's, probably.
We'll have an answer for
Okay.
you here. Michigan, okay, it's a Michigan Tax Tribunal adjustment for the Macy's store at the Cherryland,
Oh, okay.
Grand Traverse Mall.
So it's a refund?
It's
Okay.
a refund of taxes collected based on a Michigan Tax Tribunal
Oh, so
decision.
they made an appeal on the value of their building or their
And
store?
the
or-
treasurer works with them. We have to
Okay.
refund those taxes based on that decision.
Okay.
so.
It's probably another one of those black
I was
store
wrong. It
things
was
that the
Macy's.
tribunal-
But I thought that one jumped out, and if Cheryl
We
was
did
here,
not buy
Cheryl would have
clothes, though.
said.
What are we buying at
like,
Macy's?
What's going on at Macy's?
Taxes were refunded.
Okay,
Yonkers is going out of business. Maybe we bought some extra shoes.
maybe.
Thank you both.
Do you want to move for approval of that, then?
Yes, let's move for approval of the claims, the April 2018 claims approval. I motion that we approve that.
Okay,
Support.
Dan had his
No, I
hand
was
up.
going to support.
Yes. Moved by Commissioner Mayer, supported by Commissioner Lathrop. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move on to B7. Sunny?
I simply do not agree with the way the 2% money is distributed by the Grand Traverse Band back to the community. I believe it's in violation of the consent agreement that was signed between Governor John Engler and the Grand Traverse Band many, many years ago. I don't believe Grand Traverse Band has ever one time actually followed the consent agreement. Of course, their contention is that the state of Michigan, when they allowed the casinos to be built in the Detroit area, violated the consent agreement too. So the bottom line is the document does not support distributing the 2% funds the way that they have chosen to do it. I've always objected to that.
Okay. Any other discussion? I will move that we accept the 2% grant applications as proposed.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Commissioner Klaus. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Klaus,
Yes.
Wheelock,
No,
Crawford.
Yes. Okay, thank you. We will move on to departmental items, Parks and Recreation. We have our chairman of Parks and Recreation, John Roth, gracing us with his presence.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Commissioners, for having me here tonight. And Chris Erickson would love to be here. She apologizes. When we decided to come before you, this was about the time we thought we would, when we were talking about future of parks and recreation, and she had already planned a wonderful vacation, and well-deserved, and I'm glad she's doing it. So good for Chris. You sure can. I've got help. I like this.
Technical assistance.
I like
We're full
I
service.
showed him how to do that.
Someone did show us.
No, I showed John.
She did. Our wonderful clerk was shown by somebody from COA.
There was quite a group over there figuring out the
How to
technology.
Hit the button. I know how to turn the TV on. See?
Some of them.
Are we going to have all of them, or just one?
Just, I guess you look at, we're all gathered
It's
on
the
the
one
one
that
screen.
that I'm
you may have
facing,
to go
so.
closer, Chris. Some of them don't.
You gotta go at a certain angle.
We'll pause for a moment.
You don't usually have to get that close.
I see a light. I see a light.
Yeah, darken it up, that'll be just fine.
There we go.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Chris.
well, welcome, and thank you. I really appreciate coming before you. You know, Chris is usually the one that comes before you, but I think a lot of us felt that I should be the one, as president of the board, to come before you and really point out our case. We worked hard the last couple of years. I don't have to take you back too far to 4 or 5 years ago when we were going through a lot of the properties we own, trying to figure out what we actually did own, what properties possibly could be sold, what things could be done on these properties. So there were some tough times, but we worked through it. I think it was a great exercise to do. We found out exactly what we own and what we do and what we can do with our properties. So I'm glad we went through that exercise. Now we know. And the last couple of years, we've been going forward and moving ahead. So we got a little PowerPoint here tonight that we want to show to you. And I think I can figure out how to do this. This is a list of groups. Now, obviously, you can see all the successes and the recent plans and improvements we've done. It's a ton. I'm not going to take you through every single one of them. I will say that it's a great, the last 2 years, I can't believe how much we've actually accomplished. Partnering with groups, nonprofits, profits, for-profits, I should say, has been the way we go. As we met last fall in September, the Board of Commissioners reinforced the thought that Parks and Recreation are landlords. And we're going to maintain those properties and allow people that specialize in programs and services to do the work for us. There's few things we do, but mostly it's the nonprofits we've partnered with and profits. And we appreciate those guys very much. The joint meeting also reinforced the fact that most of you, at a tight budget time, as we've had the last 3 or 4 years, Parks and Rec needed to look at things where we could make more revenue and cut our costs. And we've continued to do that. Our revenues continue to go up, our costs go down. We're moving forward in that venue. Obviously, parks will never be 100% funded. I don't know how we can get there. Even the most successful counties that have parks programs, they're not 100% funded by the users, and it can't be. We have to have some of those parks need to be low cost and affordable to those that can't afford to use them with pay. So we work on that. Current partnerships, there's another list of all the partners we just talked about, all the different groups. It's just amazing, and they've come to us. Not always have we gone to them. Mostly, I'd say most of them have come to us and found ways to partner with us to make things more available to the community. We will continue to do that. There's some exciting stuff coming up that I can't even tell you about because we haven't gotten any agreements with them yet. We're still working on some really neat things. But the one we're going to focus on tonight is probably the Civic Center. The most visible. It's the one that our current BDT plan that we're working on is working on the Civic Center. A lot of cool things have really happened at the Civic Center lately. Obviously, we don't have to talk about Easeling Pool because Matt did that already, and thank you, Matt. The pool renovation is going incredibly well. As Matt said, we are looking at raising some more money so we can even go further and basically have a brand new pool when we're done renovating by the fall. So we're going to continue to look at the Civic Center. That's what the Civic Center looked like a couple years ago. Playground was shut down. Very nasty time in our time when Kids Cove was put down because of safety concerns. That was tough. Now we have a brand new playground there. Canton Bell Public Playground is just fabulous. The community came together and made sure that happened. So Civic Center today and beyond. Summer 2018 pool renovation is going to take place. Phase 2 of a camera project. Now, you guys may have forgotten about that. We've got a 2% grant that we got a few years ago that we were going to install more cameras in the Civic Center, especially around the skate park where we've had some minor incidents over the years. So, food trucks. We're talking about bringing food trucks in there to help provide a little better food service in that area during games, around the playground, around Norte, all those different areas. We have a memorial garden that is taking place where the former Kids Cove was. A pastor in town has come forward with a group that wants to put a memorial garden where the old Kids Cove was. We just approved that at our last meeting, so that's going to take place here shortly. That's going to add some real value to that area. Norte's Wheelhouse, they got the building that they're doing now, but we're working with them to get them into a bigger building, the old Pugsley building. We're trying to get them in there because they need more room because they're growing so fast. Field advertising, so that's another area we can get revenue, is that we're going to put up signs around the baseball field that can advertise everybody's business. Any one of you guys can advertise on that building, on the fences if you want at the softball games. We encourage that. We'll take your money anytime. Landscaping and the connection to Front Street where the new Rite Aid and Starbucks is going to happen, that's going on right now. I heard from the owner of that group that they're going to get going here pretty soon, so we can finish that project and do some nice landscaping in the front around the sides. Concession proposal, we're talking to more groups about doing concessions on the property so we have more options. Parallel 45 Theater is something that's really quite unique, and I can't tell you a bunch about it yet. We haven't made any kind of a commitment yet with them, but we're talking with them right now of doing theater in the park at the old amphitheater. They're very interested in doing something there and potentially spending some money to help us renovate the old amphitheater. So could be a really cool thing. They have some connections to Interlochen, so we're working very hard to see if we can get that done this summer yet. There's a lot of cool things at the Civic Center going on. Obviously, Friends of Easling Pool, again, thank you, Friends of Easling Pool. They outstanding group, raised a ton of money. I know, I don't have to take you too far back, Matt already did, talking about some of the down days. I know Commissioner Wheelock and I were on the radio station one day, along with a couple other people, and it was close. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I certainly wasn't excited about the pool closing, but we knew it was close. And I made a plea, and I had nothing to do with raising any of the funds, so please don't think I'm taking any credit for that. But I think we were honest and real, Commissioner Wheelock also, on the radio, that it was either the community had to step up or it wasn't going to happen. It was going to close. So they did. And a fabulous job, and they took the words and ran with it and did a lot better, a lot faster than I thought they could do. Matt, congratulations to you and Bridget. That was amazing that you've done. And it gave us time now to try and raise the other money. Speaking of that, if there's any way with the board here has any funds in any areas that they might be able to donate to the pool, and I don't care where it comes from as far as Commissioner dollars. I don't know what's available. I don't know your budget. I know that we've talked with the Friends of Easling Pool. There are some big donors that won't give money until they see the county give some money. Now, I understand the roof's going on. That's not the same. I look at it totally different. There's some big dollars that turned them down. Big donors that said no. And so there's a possibility, and I'm not trying to force you guys into any kind of bad position. But if there is any dollars anywhere that could be brought up, it would help us definitely get towards those big donors possibly. YMCA is working on, their employees are going to spend time with us helping us remove the pool liner, getting the new one in. So our partners are working good there. More positive trajectory. The Twin Lakes is a great one. And in 2012, our revenues only offset the expenditures, about 55% of them. Today, we're at 71% of the expenditures at Twin Lake are offset by the revenue. A major drawback in that, obviously, is that we don't have air conditioning in Gilbert Lodge. We're looking at that proposal, seeing if that's available or even feasible. Summer weddings aren't going to take place when it's 90 degrees in Gilbert Lodge. So if we can ever get that, that might be something that we're going to get a lot closer to our revenue goal. Medalli Park, obviously, Medalli Park was not even part of the game, guys. We had a sign there. It was a nice sign. People did not use Medalli Park. We didn't make a dime off it. And today we're actually running out for weddings. We've got the river in there doing canoe rentals, and now the Triton's rowing group. I don't know what you call exact words. I don't want to say it wrong. I think they're called skulls or something. They're in there, and they're going to start using Medalli Park. So that is great that park's finally getting some usage out of it. And obviously, we know the trail around the Boardman Lake will eventually end up there, and that's going to be a major trailhead. Meyer House, we actually stopped renting it a few years ago, and now for 3 years in a row, we've rented it out, and we're actually making some revenue there. In Crean's Camping at Power Island, once we did the BDT mission there at Power Island, we are close to breaking even at Power Island, guys. It's really close. So that's the kind of things we're working on. More positive trajectory, obviously, we raised $171,000 from the community and through the MEDC to the playground to get that done. Pool raised, Friends of Easling Pool raised $625,000. Outreach and branding campaigns are continuing. People are coming to us. Yeah, they really are today. We just saw something where the Urban 9 development that's over in the Civic Center area actually is, they don't say the Civic Center directly, but they say right next door there's a world-class park. So I got to believe that's us. And we're going to take full credit of that, and we're going to say it is us. So them, and I hear from real estate people all the time, every day, that I talk to real estate people, how parks are important for their sales. It brings people to our area, there's no doubt about it. So it's huge. So we're coming to you today, and we do have a resolution that we brought before you. The resolution is to get a verbal commitment. It's not, I don't know if that's the right way to say it. Let's get you on the same page we are. We're hoping that this board will continue to see that Parks and Recreation is very important to the community, that is worth funding. We're not asking for any major increase by any means. Matter of fact, we're just looking to be somewhere in the similar rate that we're getting now, and we obviously know things go up and down with budgets. So we're hoping that we can get a commitment from the board to support us through the next couple of years. And the only other thing I would say is another thing we would continue to work with you in the budgeting process is if at some time that the board thinks that the Parks and Recreation are doing a good enough job, maybe you can relieve some of the facilities management stress. If that is something that the board would be willing to consider, we might be willing to take over that portion at Parks and Rec, hire out our own staff or our own maintenance people. That might relieve some of the pressure that I know that the facilities guys have been talking about, and they're looking for more people. We'd be happy to try and do that. So that's where we're at today. Any questions from anybody?
Sonny and then Tom.
John?
Yes, sir.
5, 6 years ago,
Yes, sir.
an automobile took out the sign at Twin Lakes Park.
Yep.
A temporary sign was put up, nothing with the stonework base adequately lighted sign that was there previously. I believe the automobile owner's insurance company made a contribution to Grand Traverse County for the damage. We still have that temporary sign up. I really, as we talk about Twin Lakes and our reuse of that park and our expanded use of that park, we truly need a professional-looking sign at Twin Lakes Park. And I think that the temporary one that's there was exactly that. It was a temporary sign. That was what we were told at the time. I really would ask that Parks and Rec look at providing a more, appropriate sign for that park. That park is 175 acres. It's a big piece of property. It gets a lot more use than we actually even know. Access coming to it from the back and from the sides and from different areas. We all look at Twin Lakes Park. We see the 6 acres around Gilbert Lodge, but it's a 175-acre park. We truly need an adequate sign for that facility, and I would ask Parks and Rec to look at that, please.
Yes, sir. We'll do that. And
I get asked about that sign a lot.
You got it. Commissioner, I will check into that definitely. And I do appreciate that. And just to share with you with the Twin Lakes, there is more usage than we think. The snowshoeing that takes place in the winter, there's actually some neighbors that are asking to maybe try cross-country skiing in some of those trails there. So they're actually thinking about coming to us and having them groom the trails at their own cost, nothing to the parks. So.
And as far as I know, Traverse City West High School still uses a portion of that trail for their cross-country team.
I believe you're correct. Yes, sir.
Tom?
Yeah, I see the resolution as that we're agreeing to agree and to work together, and that we try not to get ahead of each other with this board making decisions that move a little faster than where the Parks Board is and vice versa. And the only other thing I would add, and we don't have to write it down, is that at least once a year, we have a joint meeting between the two boards so that we don't become divergent, heading in different directions. So I think it mostly appeared when we talked about property, real estate, the two boards had a little bit different opinion on that, and it was good that we talked. And I think we should have that joint session once a year.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Mayor, and I was actually wrote that down and forgot to say it, but.
Oh, the other
I
thing
could-
was, I
Go ahead, sir.
almost forgot my second idea because it was back in the presentation, but it is, what are the legalities, if any, to the county making a contribution, to some part of the civic center or the pool or the ice arena to help bring in other matching funds? I don't know if we can actually do that.
We can.
We can?
It's our
Yeah.
facility. We
So-
can commit
Okay.
funds to our facility.
So I was going to ask Dean. I recall, and I actually looked it up the past couple days because I happened to find that great big fat binder from the budget that we had last fall. It seems to me that, is there any way that you can look at the Board of Commissioners budget specifically and see if there is any play in there or excess? We are almost halfway through the year. See if there is some funds that we might be able to agree to free up. Is that possible?
That is possible.
If the board decides to.
That would be possible. I can't tell you what would be available, but you have other, funding sources. We can look there. I guess it depends on how much you would want to consider. We did look at this preliminarily, and, there are some dollars there that would be available.
The discussion we had before is that, we're getting all of this reconstruction, refurbishing of our facility
Yes.
that other people are paying for, and Grand Traverse County per se has not invested in that refurbishment. We
Skin in the
talked about
game.
trying
Dan?
to find a number for it.
I'm a little confused by the document you want us to pass. Chris, have you looked at it? And what do you make of it? Does it bind us in any way?
No, it doesn't commit you to do really one thing or the other. All you're doing is expressing basically that you support the mission and the direction of Parks and Recreation.
I'm a little confused by it because it is a resolution from the park that we do something.
Well, what the Parks and Recreation Board did at their last meeting was they adopted a recommendation asking Mr. Roth to come to the board and then recommending, basically, in simple terms, saying, hey, Board of Commissioners, do you support us? And so they adopted this recommendation, asking the board to formally say, yes, we do support you in the form of a resolution, if that makes sense.
They're asking us for a show of faith.
As if we haven't in the past, or,
Well, the only thing I would
What's the reason
hesitate,
for it?
Commissioner Lathrop, is that, not recently, but certainly in the past, we've been considered low-hanging fruit, things that quickly could go bye-bye, and we think we worked hard enough to show you that we can cut our costs, we can increase revenue, that we're worth supporting, and that we wouldn't be considered low-hanging fruit just because we're not mandated.
oh, I personally have not thought that, but
Appreciate that.
I'm just, this is just kind of a cheerleading act, right? mean,
I'd like to think it was a little
yeah,
more
I'm
than
not-
that.
I'm
but
not
yes,
against it, I
but
just
yes.
want to know what it really
Yeah, it doesn't
means.
bind you anything, Commissioner
Yeah.
Lathrop, absolutely not. And we're not asking for a specific dollar figure today. We're just wanting to be somewhat similar to what we're doing each year.
Yeah.
Just that you do support continuing to fund us for a couple years,
Yeah, I-
Things can change,
Yeah.
we know that. And we are not mandated, so we could go away. You could dissolve our board if you really wanted to, so.
Well, I certainly don't want that. I don't want anyone thinking I think that. I'm
No,
just
no,
kind of
and I would not put you,
wondering
no.
about this, yeah.
Absolutely, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I wanted to mention to Commissioner Mayor, I had the same kind of thought about the joint meeting. I don't know that necessarily it has to be every year, but certainly maybe the first year of each term of the Board of Commissioners, get kind of a 2-year layout of what that board would expect of the Parks and Recreation, or how we fit in together, that certainly would be, I think, a very meaningful joint meeting.
Okay. Yep, Ron?
John, one of your plans is to have wedding venues. Have we had wedding venues at Twin Lakes?
Oh, a lot, yes, sir. Yeah, we've actually done quite a few.
Are you getting any flack from other people that have wedding
Yeah.
venues that we are, that we're interfering with their profit?
And I appreciate that very much. No, it's the answer, honestly.
Okay.
That's probably one of the one fields or field area of business. I'm not for interfering with private enterprise by any means. That's why we don't have a ferry to the island anymore. I felt that was wrong. And we weren't charging a rate that was realistic anyway. We were giving our rides away free. Absolutely, I'm not for interfering with private enterprise. The wedding business, though, is ridiculously big. I mean, there's not enough venues here to satisfy the people that want to come up here and have a destination wedding at this point. It's crazy big. I don't know the business until we got into doing it at Twin Lakes, but I really do not believe we're infringing on anybody's business. We have not heard that.
I have not heard that, but just asking.
I appreciate the question, though. No, absolutely.
Okay. Dan?
I make a motion that we accept this resolution.
Okay.
Clarification here. There is not a resolution for you guys to pass. That's just a copy of their resolution. And the, maybe you could do the suggested motion on page 85, because there isn't a resolution in the packet. That resolution was the Parks and Recs resolution.
So there's a suggested motion on page 85?
Yeah, and maybe you could read that, which is just saying that you're supporting the role and blah, blah, blah.
So I make a motion that we accept the suggested,
No.
how can I do this?
This is different than
Do you see it on page 85? You could just read that, maybe.
Oh, okay, okay. Motion for the County Board of Commissioners to continue to play a supporting role. Am I doing it right? Okay.
Yep.
In fostering a positive future for county parks and recreation, and continue to consider county parks and related facilities valuable assets of the county and its citizens. I so move.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Lathrop, supported by Commissioner Wheelock. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I also have a motion. I would move that the board direct Dean Bott, our Director of Finance, to attempt to find how much, what's the next phase? What's the next phase?
$25,000.
Okay. Attempt to find up to $25,000, starting with the Board of Commissioners budget, for the county to commit as a donation toward the next set of renovations. Is there support? We're just asking him to look for it.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Commissioner Wheelock. Any further discussion?
Do we need to, though?
If we want, as a board, to direct Dean to do that, to
Okay.
look for the money, see what he can find?
All right.
Yeah.
I think for discussion purposes, we have to acknowledge the thousands of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars of renovation to our facility that is being funded without additional county commitment. I understand the county commits monies to the Parks and Recreation Department. We commit money to the Facilities Department. We're committing money tonight for a new roof, all of which contribute to the facility. But when people look at the renovation that is happening at the Howe Arena and this Easling Pool, they don't see that as part of the renovation. So I think it's important that we show that we also support the renovation.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Good job, John.
Thank you,
Thank you,
gentlemen
John.
and ladies. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Moving on. We have Heidi, our county treasurer, to talk about our quarterly investment report and PA 20 compliant investment vehicle, et cetera. Tell us about that. It sounds very complicated. I'm sure it's not, though.
So I got two things on the agenda, and one came forth from actually my Michigan Association of County Treasurers Conference that I went into in February. A lot of the county treasurers take to their board a quarterly investment report as guided by statute. That's not something I've ever done before. So I've worked with the other counties and created this investment report, which I'll be sending to the board quarterly going forward. It's just it'll just go through on the consent calendar, so I won't be presenting it, but just a summary of the cash and investments at a certain point in time. This is as of 12/31, and I'm going to use this to transition into, this is just for information only, but I am going to use it to transition into my second request, which is the resolution to join the MyLoF, which is Public Act 20. That is an investment action that guides my investments. I can't invest in stocks or anything, so this all was established to adhere to municipal finance law. And MyLoF is similar to what we call a Michigan class. It's a pooled fund. As Grand Traverse County, we have cash flow. We have a certain amount of money that I have to keep on hand for payroll. I have to keep it on hand for investments, or unknown, if you guys budget $25,000 for something, I have to make sure we have it in the bank. So I have liquidity that I have to worry about. But at the same token, I'm trying to earn the best interest rate that I possibly can. So MyLoF actually allows us to pool our funds with other municipalities. They can invest it in longer terms. They're in fact getting better interest rates, and yet I can get access to it on a quicker turnaround if I need to. If you look at the investment report, my pool funds now, I have $19 million. That is all just in Michigan class. So I would like to diversify. Michigan class is similar to MyLoF, which we're doing now. So I don't have that much money in one entity. So I would like to go to MyLoF as well, so I can split that out. And so I'm just looking for a resolution to join, and I'll answer any questions.
Is there a membership fee with this, Heidi, or no? It's just a
Nope, no fee.
participation fee?
And interest rates at this point are just under 2%, and I can get the cash within 24 hours. Whereas if I actually just bought a CD yesterday, and I committed for 16 months, and I got 2.1% interest. So the interest, like I said, it's that pooled. You have more money, you can commit it for a longer period of time, so you can get those better rates. But because you have such a huge pool, you can draw it out if you need, because they have them laddered and staggered.
Dean, do you have a comment?
No, I'm all for this.
I see you signed on. Madam Chairman, I would move to authorize Grand Traverse County to participate in the Michigan Liquid Asset Fund Plus program.
I'll second that.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Mayer. Any further discussion or questions? Sounds good to me. Always good to be able to pull your money together and do something better.
Well, I mean, like I said, if you look, I have $19 million in class. So my goal is to diversify it, not have all my money in one basket. So if I can get the same interest rate and have it split in two different, it just makes sense to me.
And the availability. Heidi mentioned the difference in the longer-term commitment. That's not enough to tie the money up that long. I mean, that's available here if we need it. So this is really a good thing for us to do.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I like the report. We'll get this as a consent
Yeah, it'll come
with the
quarterly.
pies and everything, because I like that. Okay, thank you.
Can I have my pie and cherry with ice cream on top, please?
Okay, moving on. We have the pool roof. Mr. Barry? We have received several bids for the pool, for the roof.
Had a
Yes?
total of 6 bids, ranging
Okay.
from $79,250 to $116,800. And all 6 bidders were going to the same bid spec that was put out on Mitten, received all back sealed and opened up at the same time,
Okay.
just to comply with our purchasing requirements and policies. In looking at all of them and doing some background check, we came up with Summit Roofing in the amount of $79,250, being the low bidder. Did a little bit of background check on Summit Roofing. The last job they did large was Elk Rapids Public Schools. It's local, and that was over 100,000 square feet of roofing, and we currently have approximately 10,000 square feet. I talked to Elk Rapids Schools this morning, and they have been happy with the job that was done. So I would recommend, due to the low bidder and complying with all the provisions, to go with Summit Roofing for $79,250.
Tom?
I'll make a motion to accept the bid by Summit Building. Is it Summit Building or Summit Roofing?
Summit Roofing.
Summit Roofing.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Mayer, supported by Commissioner Klaus. Discussion? Have something?
I think if I calculated correctly, the local bidders, I'm sorry, Ron,
Sorry.
none of the local bidders were within the 5% local preference. They were all higher than that.
Okay.
And, where's Summit Roofing out of?
Empire.
They're
Okay, so they're,
consider that pretty local.
yeah.
Dan?
With
Oh,
the,
hold on. Sorry.
with this, the warranty, we're actually, it's a manufacturer warranty, correct? It's not Summit Roofing warranting the roof for 25 years.
Correct. It's a manufacturer, and it's through Firestone Roofing Products. And I spoke with them also today, and they stand behind it. They gave me a little more information on Summit Roofing. They're within the top 250 in the nation for master contractors with them. And it is a 25-year, no-dollar limit warranty.
And how do, have we come up with a program to actually watch this warranty? I mean, that we inspect the roof, if that's what it takes, every 2 years, or so that we don't lose the warranty? Are we keeping track of it? Do we have a way to?
Yes, we have an electronic way of keeping track on the K-Drive.
Okay.
So that'll be accessible by yourselves or anybody else who has access to that file. Any warranties that I get from this point forward will go in there with full scan packages. And also working with Firestone Roofing, once the warranty is placed, I will get a list of what they recommend for standard PM and predictive maintenance procedures. And we will put that into our CMMS system once we get that all completed.
Dan?
So I've been asked by some people that when you look at these different vendors to do this, that you're comparing apples to apples. It's pretty much the same job each vendor's bidding on with the same materials, right?
Yes, sir. That's
Yeah.
the spec I put out on Mitten. So everybody is on the same field. The only real difference between all 6 of these is some will market GAF, some will market Firestone Roofing. It's kind of like Ford and a Chevy and a GMC.
Gotcha. Okay,
They all have their own specific vendor that they like to work with as far as materials go.
okay. Thank you.
Tom?
So the warranty is mostly with the product from the manufacturer, the person that sells it to the roofer?
Yes.
Oh. Can we get anything from the roofer that says that they'll do the labor, come back and cover us on that? Or is
That I
it
will-
just the material?
That I will check with, but the no-dollar limit warranty encompasses labor as well.
Oh, it does? Okay.
It's the manufacturer will get labor to do it.
Correct.
So
if
the
if
labor goes on the
contract-
manufacturer?
Right, if the contractor goes out of business in 10 years, they'll still cover somebody coming in and repairing the roof.
Yeah, it'd just be nice to have some duplication, maybe, that the Summit Roofing also, standing behind it for the same amount of time. Obviously, if they're not around, they're not going to stand behind it, but just in theory, that they would stand behind it, so.
That I don't have really any question on any of the 6 bidders. They will all stand behind their
Yeah,
work.
because we just had a warranty on our administrative search, which saved us quite a bit of money because the first one wasn't successful, but it did still include a few out-of-pocket expenses. It wasn't 100%, so.
Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, there you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will move on to Commission on Aging. We have a letter of termination from Kalida, not sure.
Right. I'm
To
Cindy
Kalita.
Kinlan with the Commission on Aging, and I'm asking you, the board, to approve the letter of termination that we sent from, it was actually coming from myself and Chris Forsyth and Ming Mays. So Ming and I have been working diligently for the last 6 months to try to make this work, but the fact that Kalita was unable to meet across the board any of the requirements for any of the number of levels of what we needed as far as billing and accounts receivable, documentation, scheduling. There wasn't anything that they could actually meet with our requirements. So we have decided to take our loss and go forward and really get a more positive product.
Dan?
So move.
Okay.
Or
Moved by Commissioner Lathrop, supported by Commissioner Wheelock.
when did we enter into the contract with these people to handle this for us?
This was last November. So Ming and I met, this was a company that was selected before Ming and I were here. We did meet and get a demo. However, we got a lot of promises. I think going forward, what we're asking for is demonstrated proof that they can produce the reports and that we're able to get the product that we need going forward.
Kind of sounds like a New World system.
What?
Just so the
Pardon?
board's aware,
Sheriff system.
the board did not enter into this contract. So technically, you don't need to take the action you did, but I thought it'd be better for one, the board to take action, and two, just that the board is aware of what happened with this particular vendor.
So it doesn't require a motion then?
No, I prefer you have a motion.
This contract was entered into without board approval per se, but they aren't fulfilling the contract that we need, and so we need to terminate it and move on.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Moving on to a lawnmower purchase. Hi.
Hi, I'm Jill Case, supervisor. We are asking for approval to purchase a 52-inch and a 60-inch mower with sulkies, and we followed the purchasing policy. If you have any questions.
Let me see. Okay, and we're going with the lowest,
Yes, Ferguson's is the lowest bidder
Ferguson's?
for both.
Are we, I'll make the motion for the discussion.
Okay,
I'll second.
moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Lathrop. Go ahead.
Are we having an issue with the 2011 and 2014 mowers that we're replacing?
Those are actually going to be moved to our spare in case we need repairs done on our mowers. What we're having issues with is our spare mowers, a 2008 and a 2010. And we've already, I have the price, we paid for one almost $5,000. We've put $3,300 into repairs and an estimate of $3,100 more now to get that. In the 2010, we spent $4,400. We've had $2,800 in repairs and a $1,600 estimate. And I have the estimates here from Lark.
I would suggest that we advertise those other two mowers for sale, though, rather than take them to the scrapyard.
We are working with facilities for that. He's working on an auction,
Okay,
so.
okay, good. Any other questions on the
Did
mowers?
you want to add something?
I was just curious if these two extra mowers are going to be used in any way, shape, or form with your expanse of your lawn mowing services?
The spare mowers,
Are you going to need the extra two to help with that?
those two, no, I wouldn't recommend to put that kind of money into a mower. Yes, we could use those, but then if we break down one, we don't have a spare mower to get the crew back
You're
out.
adding quite a bit of service
No.
in your next proposition, correct? Your next proposal?
No, that is a different proposal.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have lawn mowers.
Yes.
Now we have a lawn maintenance wait list.
So first, we'd like to apologize and not call it a wait list program.
Okay.
So we have, that's what we were calling it in the past, and we want to call it our home chore vendor program. So To give a little background, currently our 6 crew, 16 members, serve 412 client homes in our program. Right now, 162 additional clients want that service. So we work with vendors that meet our criteria. They have their own mowers and trucks and trailers, and they provide the service to those 162 people if they so wish. We pay up to $480 for the service of mowing and a leaf removal. So we called it vouchers, but we're doing it a little different this year. So we're requesting the budget adjustment to cover 300 clients getting $480 worth of service from outside vendors.
So that there won't be any wait lists.
Right.
Literally, anyone that comes to us, we will provide that service for.
So-
Not necessarily through us, but through the vendor.
Right. So
Okay.
then if this doesn't get approved, then there's 162 people on our wait list for lawn mowing service.
Okay, and this comes from your fund balance?
Yes.
That's what you'd like to do?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion for discussion?
So the $480 is an annual fee that you're paying to a landscaper, for lack of a better term right now, to mow the lawn for these 300 clients?
Yes. And do a 1 leaf removal.
And is it, what's the interval on those? Do you know how often they mow?
It depends on the client's needs, but it's about every other week. So we used to sell vouchers, and the clients were allowed 16 vouchers valued at $30. Clients were losing the vouchers. Vendors weren't getting paid, so we thought, okay, we'll not do vouchers. They'll have to turn them into us, and then we'll bill the clients. It was just getting way too confusing with vouchers.
I just want to make sure that we're tracking this both for service for the seniors and
Yes.
for the vendors.
Oh, yes. The vendors will get a calendar. They turn the calendar in every month of what days they were at this client's house, and the client gets to choose which vendor they want, of the participating ones. We don't choose them.
And the vendor can't go ahead and do any work until they get the approval from us.
And how many vendors do we have on the list for the client to collect?
4.
How many?
4. Those were the only, we put it out in the paper and everything, so.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
We have a motion, I think, don't we?
No.
No? Okay. I'll make a motion to accept the, what's the new title?
The Home Chore Vendor Program.
Home
There's a
Chore Vendor
suggested
Program,
motion
yeah.
here, approval to
Good.
move,
Yeah.
is what we're asking. Let's go with the suggested motion.
Okay, not the new name?
No.
Okay.
They're asking to move $144,000
All right. I motion to accept that.
to accept that. Got
Support.
that, Bonnie?
Let's
Got it.
We got a
Okay.
resolution.
Moved by Commissioner Mayer, supported by Commissioner Klaus. Any further discussion or questions, comments?
Just change that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it'll
ask
be
one
good
more-
to not have a wait list.
Can I ask one more question?
anymore. Yes.
What are you doing to advertise maybe in some new places to find some other vendors? Because you might
Put it
not have
out in the
enough, right?
Record Eagle.
Yeah.
If you have ideas, I'm.
No, I just wonder,
Because we want vendors. We need vendors.
Yeah, bringing it up right now over, it's on tape television or live television is helpful
One of
to
the
some
things-
extent, so.
Part of my understanding, though, is those vendors do have to meet our criteria with the insurance, liability, workman's comp, and a lot of the smaller vendors don't meet that.
Well, and I would suggest that we advertise for vendors for snow removal at this time of the year too, because most of the snowplow vendors are going to enter into contracts July and August for everything they're going to take next year. So if we're thinking that we may want to look at the vendor program for snow removal, which I've suggested for a long time, we should be advertising that now.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, and you can just tack on.
Thank
in
you.
In the other part of the year, those snow removal people may well be landscapers, so.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times they will.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to finance, we have the Blair Bond Resolution. Is that you, Dean?
Yes, this is it's a resolution basically authorizing the Board of Public Works to enter into the necessary contract with Blair Township for their water improvement project. I just want to point out, there's a lot to this. I have reviewed it. The description on page 201 is not correct. The actual project description is on page 210. what's on 201 just does not describe the work that's being done. But this has been prepared by bond counsel, and the Board of Public Works will actually enter into the contract with the township, but we need the county resolution because of the bonding process. So if you do get a chance to look at the difference in the project description, 210 is the actual work that will be done for the township.
Madam
And I would
Chairman,
ask
I
for your
would move to authorize the Grand Traverse Department of Public Works to enter into a utility improvement with Blair Township.
Bonnie, we'll need a roll.
Take a roll call vote?
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Lathrop. Any discussion?
That affects some of the property that the land bank has posted for sale and has sold? Is that going to affect that property too?
I mean, I don't know that for a
Because it's-
fact, but
because
because
it
it's
is
part of
Blair,
their
so-
water supply system, it very well could.
Yeah, okay.
Most of that portion of their system is relatively new.
Mhm.
It was in the last expansion of their system, so I'm guessing they don't have to do much in maintenance of that portion. But depending on how they're refinancing their bonds, there may be some advantage. There may be
Right.
some advantage to do that.
But because of, when we did the land bank sale, those proceeds, most of the proceeds go back to Blair to cover some of that expense that they had put up in front, right? Yeah,
Most of it.
most of it, yeah.
Okay, roll call vote, please, Bonnie.
Lathrop?
Yeah.
Klaus?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes. Okay. Standard & Poor rating, Dean, tell us about that.
Well, I have Heidi, the county treasurer, here as well, but as part of the process to issue bonds, we have to answer questions from the rating agency that's selected. This one happened to be Standard & Poor's S&P. This is in reference to the South Airport Road bonds. Very happy to report that our rating was increased from AA to AA+. And there are two main reasons for that increase. One is the pledge. The bonds are ultimately will be paid off with the MTF funds that the Road Commission received, and then it's backed up. The secondary pledge or security is the county's, full faith and credit. Heidi can attest for the process that they put us through as far as answering questions. They're asking about our budget capacity, our liquidity. The only negative in all of this is they do mention the pension and the OPEB. Heidi and myself, we're not real happy with their comment because they're basically saying that we don't have a plan to address the pension. And we questioned them on that when we got the rating. And they changed it slightly to say that they didn't agree that our plan was adequate. That's in here. I would not, hide that from you. We explained to them the favorable valuation on our retiree health liability. I'm not sure what their concern was. We told them that we made our pension payment early for 2018, and they still had the comment that they didn't feel. But if you look at, I know it's hard to scroll through your on your tablet, but that is one of the downsides to their rating. They feel that if we had, and I would believe that as our funded percentage improves with MERS, they're saying that would be the single most thing that would take our rating to the highest rating, which would be possible, which would be a AAA. So, I mean, that is the one.
From a AA to a AA+.
Yeah. I mean, this is an increase. This is very favorable. It's saying that you have your budget and your policies and procedures as, Heidi bringing your investment. They ask all those questions. The only negative, in my opinion, is mentioned on page 217, and that is the pension. They're fully aware of that, but we'll continue to work on that. The county credit rating is very strong, and that is affirmed by this rating from S&P. So we wanted you to see that. That's very good news, so.
Dan?
I'm just confused a little bit. What is it they want us to do extra that we already have a plan to pay off the pension? What more do they want us to do?
I don't know. I wish I could answer that. We only had 2 hours to respond to this, and we did. Heidi and I both responded. She sent them a very clear email saying, this is our plan. I don't know, and we could have maybe told them that, we have plans to make additional payments. I think we maybe mentioned that, but I think to some extent they have to, it can't all be good, it can't all be positive. So there is that aspect of this rating. They mention it. We are doing what you need to do. You have a plan in place. Treasury knows that plan. I think we just continue to stress that, and we may have additional bonds that are issued for townships, and we'll continue to drive that point home. This rating, though, the benefit for not only the Road Commission and Blair Township is because of the county credit rating being as strong as it is, those bonds can be sold at lower interest rates, which all of the citizens benefit from. So this is a very good rating. We tried to get them to take a different look at that pension and the plan that we have for funding it, but we just could not convince them that what you're doing is.
Dean, do you have any estimate, or can you, not necessarily tonight, but can you provide us an estimate, say, for example, the Blair Township bonds that we're talking about, what the savings to the taxpayers of Blair Township will be by using Grand Traverse County's bond rating?
Well, we'll try to do that for both the South Airport Road bond issue and the Blair Township. We'll ask the folks that we work with to tell us what that difference would be, and we can report that back. I don't want to speculate.
We've seen a significant savings to the taxpayers of our community by the county selling the bonds rather than the townships or the individual
I don't know if
entities.
Heidi wants to commit to that. I think what we should do is ask them for what that,
They've always given it to us before.
We'll report that back.
It's been a pretty sizable number.
The bond sales both of these are sometime later in June, so we'll know relatively soon.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to point out on page 214, positive things that were said in this report, not the negative one, that we have strong management with good financial policies and practices, strong budgetary performance with operating surpluses in the general fund, strong budgetary flexibility with an available fund balance in 2016 of 54% of operating expenditures, very strong liquidity, adequate debt and contingent liability position with debt service, and strong institutional framework score. All very, very good things about our financial management of the county that contributed to getting the AA+.
So we're
One
doing
step
something
closer.
right, aren't
We are.
Yeah.
We absolutely are.
Doing something right.
It's all good stuff. So, okay. Thank you very much, Dean and Heidi. We're going to move on to administration, a security recommendation.
I think Captain Ritter is
This
going
is that. Captain Ritter?
to lead the conversation here, but as you know, we went out for bids for courthouse security. We've been with DK Security for several years now, and Captain Ritter, the court administrators, and I think Mr. Bott and a few others have been involved in this review and are prepared to make a recommendation.
Okay.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
First, I'd like to acknowledge Sarah Adams for all her hard work on this.
Okay.
Sarah did a great job of putting everything together for us, getting everything to the vendors, getting everything back timely and out to the committee, and organizing meetings, and really did a great job. So,
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah.
Kudos to her. So we did sit down and looked at 6 different proposals. After reviewing the 6 proposals, we invited 3 companies in to interview. The 3 companies we invited in to interview were DK Security, STT, and G4S. After interviewing the companies, one question kind of came to mind, and we asked one of the companies to come back with a second proposal because their first proposal wasn't quite apples to apples. We asked STT to rebid with using 5 security personnel versus their bid they'd put in at 4. The court administrators, and I agreed, thought 5 was a more adequate number to cover the 2 security stands and have somebody for shift relief in the event that there's an emergency. You still have somebody at the door and somebody to respond to the emergency. STT is our recommendation based on their 5-person bid. We did have some issues that were brought to light with DK Security over the years, and that was one of the main reasons we put this out for bid. One of the things that we were very impressed with STT was their leadership and the way they recruit, the way they retain, and the retention rate. That's one of our ongoing issues with DK Security. They have over a 60% turnover rate. So they're in a constant flux of training and not having somebody that's not sure what's going on. STT has under a 20% turnover rate. Their cost is higher. They invest that back in the employees. You see that in the employee wage size. That's how they retain their folks. So it is our recommendation tonight that we do sign a 2-year contract with STT Security Service for the courthouses.
Okay. Want to start with a motion?
Motion to approve the contract for $198,594 per year with STT Security.
Is there any support?
I'll second it.
Moved by Commissioner Willock, supported by Commissioner Mayer.
And I have a
Tom?
question.
Okay.
I don't see it right here, but I thought I read it earlier, that there were some extra added things that they were willing to do. Can you tell us what those are?
There are, and that's one of the questions we asked the 3 that came in as we interviewed them. What other services are you going to provide us for that cost? One of the things that, in my mind, was big with STT is emergency management planning and being a part of the emergency management and coordination plan for the complex. They want to be at the table and have an instrumental role in that. Then they have a variety of other services that they do offer, and they're here and able to speak to those if you'd like to hear from them.
Anybody, do you want to
Yeah,
detail that out, or?
Just one other thing. I just hope that the employees of DK Security receive a proper information, because they may be working right at this moment, and they may not know that this is on the agenda.
They've all been notified, and
they have?
all,
Okay.
and one of the things that we asked when we interviewed the companies that we were looking at, and STT has agreed, they're going to be looking at all those employees and giving them the opportunity to stay in place once they've been properly vetted and trained through STT.
Okay, so it sounds pretty courteous to me.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's something I would even add on, is that's a very nice thing that they would offer to take on those employees, because they're probably local employees.
Yep.
The other thing I found out is that this is a Michigan company. They're based in Mount Pleasant, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's important to me, so.
Sonny?
Todd, what is our current contract costing us? Do you remember?
I believe it is right in the $168,000 range, but I don't know the exact
So
figure.
we're up $30,000.
Correct.
But it's been a long time since we entered into that DK.
It's been
DK
several
contract.
years.
That is the point that we should make here, or at least make known. With our budget situation over the last several years, DK has held their rates. There was one period of time for a year where they actually reduced their rates. So some of the amount that you have here, and I think that goes directly to their retention problem. Their rates, as far as what they pay their staff, are low, and that's very noticeable here in the analysis. But that DK rate, in my opinion, is just it's low to do any analysis here. As far as should we be looking at that $30,000 difference by itself, I would ask that you not. I mean, I think what we really want to do here, in my opinion, is have the right staffing, the right company doing what we need them to do at those entry points. They need to be very observant, very diligent. They need to work with the court staff and our sheriff's office to make sure that we're doing the best job that we can do in an unarmed capacity at those key entry points to our facilities.
Sonny, yeah?
I think it's very important to recognize what the security staff does for us. They certainly bring us a visible presence. We've had discussions over the years about the value of the toothless dog at the corner, but this is the level of service that we're asking for, and I think, we are ready to have that, and I think it's important that we have that. I sometime or another, I would still like to have a discussion with whoever our security vendor is, to have discussion about using them in the courtrooms. We are committing corrections officers in sometimes 4 or 5 courtrooms during a day when we truly have a shortage of corrections officers that we may be able to utilize somewhere better. I understand anytime I have a prisoner in that courtroom, I expect us to have a county corrections officer with that prisoner. But there is a significant amount of time that we have corrections officers committed to courtrooms that they are not there strictly to supervise a prisoner. And I'd really like to have that discussion and that option. And we've had the discussion off and on for many, many years. Particularly, some of the judges are not in favor of having a discussion about having someone else. But there are many, many communities that use bailiffs, whether it be armed bailiffs, in their courtrooms in place of committing corrections officers there. And in a organization that we have that has such a significant shortage of corrections officers, and we're having to pay overtime every week, I would really like to have some discussion again about how to bring that number down. And maybe we can do that as part of our 2019 budget discussion. Nate, do you want to weigh in on that?
Well, I can. In the early discussions on this topic, the sheriff's office was asked to actually submit a proposal themselves to be considered for use of security at the front gates, so to speak, and we just can't do it. The sheriff's office doesn't have the staffing to even provide the proposal. So there needs to be a bigger discussion about the courthouse security issues surrounding, and it's a big topic. They're not armed. DK has a don't touch policy, essentially. And all of those things have to be considered for the safety of the public and the court employees. So should the sheriff's office be at the front gates? Maybe they should be, but they just can't be. We don't have the staffing.
Does anybody from STT Security want to have anything to say, or?
I'm here to answer questions if you have any.
Okay.
Well, I guess my only thing is, you heard my comments. I would really like to see a proposal going forward to provide some of that security in our courtrooms.
We would welcome that out.
Okay. Dan?
Sonny, are you talking about armed security, right?
Yes, if you're going to put a person in the courtroom for security inside the courtroom, it needs to be an armed person.
And does your group do you supply armed security?
All of them do.
Okay.
And DK does. We had a discussion with them a couple years ago about it.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay.
I think you're going to have to involve the judges in on that conversation quite a bit ahead of time, because I know that historically the judges have had some pretty strong opinions about wanting corrections officers and sheriff's office employees being part of that bailiffing duty and bringing prisoners back and forth to court from the jail. So I think if we were going to have this concept, we should be getting on that fairly early.
Well, absolutely, but this contract goes in place July 1st. I have no problem with holding this contract up, but if we're going to have any further discussion, we should be doing it before we establish our 2019 budget, or at least have that discussion as part of our 2019 budget.
And it's only a 2-year contract, so there's not a lot of time, but there's enough time for us to get around and get this discussion rolling.
And there are a lot of successful hybrid models involving security in the sheriff's office, interchanging roles. 36th District Court in Detroit, one of the biggest district courts in the state, primarily uses private security supplanted with the sheriff's office. So there's successful models out there to look at.
And I, like I said, I have no problem with the fact that when there's a prisoner in that courtroom, it's our responsibility. But there's a lot of other times that we have 2 officers in the courtroom because one of them's there with the prisoner and one of them's there for security in the courtroom. We probably shouldn't have to commit 2 corrections officers. Only, and I bring that up solely because of the fact that we have such a hard time filling that staffing plan. If we can find one way to reduce that and make corrections officers available to be where they're supposed to be, I'm all in favor of that.
Tom?
Well, with any contract, what's the exit plan as far as notice, if they want to notify us or we notify them?
Is it 30 days? Okay, 30 days. And that was the same with DK, I believe, where they had a 30-day exit. And STT does have a transition plan that they're ready to roll out. That's a 30-day plan with the exit of DK. They'll be working with the court administrators and DK to make sure it's a smooth transition.
Good.
Anybody else? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, there
Thank
you
you.
go. Thank you. We have approval of the POAM agreement.
Yes, that contract was settled through mediation and approved by their board, the POAM local board, and signed by their president and required signatures as well. And we're waiting for this board to approve that contract.
And it is in line with the discussions that we previously had.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's with a similar contract to all non-contract and non-312 units.
Madam Chairman, I would move to authorize the signature on the POAM labor contract.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Klaus. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That was easy. We need the button. We still need a button. New business, Camp Pugsley Shooting Range. Tell me about that.
Yes, so the Sheriff's Department has used the shooting range at Camp Pugsley for several years through a cooperative agreement with the state. And now that Camp Pugsley is vacant, we've had permission to use it since it's vacated, knowing full well that there is a probability that Camp Pugsley will be in the Michigan Land Bank. Well, it is, and we thought that we had an arrangement that was kind of an automatic, so to speak, that we would be allowed to use that range, and that someday it would be our range to use exclusively. Monday and Tuesday, we found out that while that may be accurate, the Michigan Land Bank Fast Track Authority still needs a proposal from us requesting the use of that range. And that requires a grant or a proposal being submitted to them tomorrow by noon. So I apologize for the short notice. We were noticed early Tuesday and late Monday evening, and Captain Clark from the Sheriff's Department has written up the required narrative for the proposal, and I would like to be able to submit that tomorrow. Part of that proposal will be a discussion of purchase, and I think the offer is a $1 request on behalf of Grand Traverse County to purchase the range. And
Just the shooting range?
Just the shooting range, yes. That's a very small portion of the overall parcel.
Madam Chairman, I would move to authorize staff to submit a proposal to Michigan State Land Bank for the exclusive use of the shooting range at the former Camp Pugsley facility in southern Grand Traverse County for an annual cost of $1 per year.
No, it's not an annual cost.
Nope,
it's a
we're buying it.
one-time.
Oh, it's a $1 cost?
Purchasing
Yeah.
property for $1.
Yes.
Works for me.
Dan, you a second? Okay.
Yeah.
Moved by Commissioner
It's a lot
Wheelock,
of money.
supported by Commissioner Lathrop.
Just for discussion, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, Dean, the Grand Traverse County Land Bank had a discussion with a member of the State Land Bank Authority, At that point, he was suggesting that within a short period of time, of course, we all know the speed of the state of Michigan's government decisions, that he expected the Michigan Department of Corrections to name Camp Pugsley and a number of other facilities throughout the state as surplus property. And their goal at that time was, if in fact that property was deemed to be surplus, that the Michigan Land Bank Authority take over the control of that property, and then they were very interested in partnering with Grand Traverse County Land Bank for the possible redevelopment of that property to get it back on the tax roll. And our Land Bank Authority was very supportive of that, and in fact have a number of potential developers for the redevelopment of that property to put it back on the tax roll, if in fact it becomes part of the state land bank, and they in turn bring it back to us to make it available. So, I think what we're seeing here is obviously a fast track piece that's happened because of, in somewhere along the way, the part that got forgotten about was the fact that shooting range was actively being used by Grand Traverse County. So in order for the state to take it over, they need some sort of a commitment by us and the state to continue to make that portion of the property available. Even if the entire parcel goes to the land bank, they want to set aside that portion that is the shooting range to still make it available to us, which I think is very, very key. I think it's important to us, and I certainly recognize the effort by the state land bank to acknowledge that as part of it, because they didn't have to do that. They could have just simply said, no, it's part of the entire parcel, and we're going to look to redevelop the entire parcel, and it is what it is. So I acknowledge the fact that it's very important to us, and give credit to the land bank for at least recognizing the value of that shooting range to Grand Traverse County and local law enforcement, not just Grand Traverse County, but local law enforcement as a whole.
Ron?
Does that come with easement for ingress and egress to access that range?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, those are details that we're gonna have to work out with the State Land Bank Authority. For right now, our requirement is just to get them in writing. This is what we want. But yeah, absolutely, we're gonna need that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh,
No,
Roll
roll
call
call,
vote.
please.
oh, has to be roll call? Okay, go for it.
Klaus?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yep.
Crawford?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to second public comment. Anybody left who would like to make comment at this time? No? Okay. Commissioner department reports. Tom?
Yeah, I have a procedure question. From time to time, we get resolutions from other counties, as we are one of 83 counties in Michigan, and there was one recently from Allegan County that was bringing to light that the governor was going to cut back the way Lansing issued money for indigent defense funding, and that was going to leave more of a burden on counties to make up the difference that they thought they had an agreement, which was actually the opposite of. And then Bay County followed that resolution that Allegan County did. Is that something we don't put on the agenda anymore, or we just look at those, or, because that one's kind of important,
Okay.
Cheryl asked to have those not included in the packet.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Months ago, and so they're just forwarded to you from Chris Kramer.
Informationally.
Because I think that one's important. That could result in a higher cost to our county for the expense of indigent defense.
We can have it put on, I'm sorry, we could have it put on the agenda for discussion if you would like it to be. If you see one of those pass by and you read it and think that it's worth
Yeah, I
discussing
guess
at our board
I
level,
didn't think
you
that hard
can.
about it at the time, and I looked at the agenda and I realized it wasn't there. But I did want to say something because the governor's kind of retracting something that he said he was going to do, and now he's backtracking and saying he's not going to do the same thing, so.
So anytime you see one of those go by, if you would like to have it on the agenda, you can
So we could put it on the next agenda if we
Just-
want to talk about it.
just let Chris Kramer know, and she'll put it on the agenda, and, yeah.
Specific to that resolution. Chris and I spoke about that today, and we do have some questions about it. We are researching it. It's on our radar. And we are going to end up talking to Mr. Schmidt and Mr. Inman about the proposed changes in the statute, because there are questions about what those changes will do for us. So that more than likely will come back to this board once we've had an opportunity to digest the information and know what it says exactly. But I don't think we should jump the gun just yet. We should actually understand it.
Okay.
Okay, so it's...
We also
no.
have went on record in being involved in that new state indigent defense fund.
Well, we applied.
Where we
Yes.
applied for that. So
That's correct.
I think all of that's going to come together as one piece when it's all over and done with.
We did.
Anybody else? Sonny?
Tom mentioned it earlier, closing for the Blaine Farm and Fleet's purchase of the front 18 acres of the Blair Township property near Rennie School Road is at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I am scheduled to sign those papers on behalf of the Grand Traverse County Land Bank for the sale of that property. And I know that the banking information was sent to them electronically so as that they could deposit the money.
Yay.
So we're all in favor of that.
Okay.
Money.
Ron, you had something?
I wanted to bring up that, I'm going to say, a month ago,
Oh,
I
that's right.
received a call from a gentleman out of state. He called me with interest of purchasing the pavilions. I'm not soliciting these calls, they just don't know. I did give him the phone number to our administration office and asked them to follow up with administration, and I understand that he has. Don't know where it's at, but if, Nate, if you have
Yeah.
something to add.
I did talk to the gentleman. His name is Haj Shlomo, and he said exactly what Commissioner Klaus said, that he sought him out and did not have any real reason or need to do that directly. But he did talk to us. We had a phone conversation to start with, and we followed up with him with Chris and I in a phone meeting. Answered a lot of his questions that he had, specifically who is actually in charge of the pavilions and what would be needed to facilitate a meeting with the proper people. So he followed up with a phone call with Dean, and I think Mr. Shlomo has what he needs, and his answers or his questions have been answered to date.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay. For notices, we have our next regular meeting is June 6th, Wednesday at 5:30. I will leave you in the capable hands of Commissioner Klaus for that one. June 6th.
That's it.
You better be there. And then June 7th, we have our public forum toward the hiring of our new county administrator at 5:30. And then June 8th, we will all be here around, I think, 8 o'clock.
Was it
First
8?
Well, we need to be here at 8 to consult with James and check out what
Okay.
is going on, see what the public comments were the night before, and I believe the first interview is going to be at 9. Yes,
Okay.
Dan?
June 6th, what day is that?
That's a Wednesday, that's our regular meeting.
That'd be a regular meeting?
It's a regular 5:30
Okay.
meeting.
And then 7 and 8 are special meetings?
Yep.
Gotcha.
And that public forum, if you will, is that 5 o'clock?
5:30. And I believe they're looking at having that in the training room, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And and our meeting will start at 8 o'clock on the 8th in the morning.
Yes.
Yep.
But we have to be here at 8. Formal meeting will start soon after that. Okay? We don't have a closed session?
Nope.
Okay. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
So that's a land bank meeting?